Hey everybody, Jesse here, and welcome back to the Fit Forward Gym for part 5 of our mini mobility series, the lower back. I've got some good news for you. You've already done a lot for the health of your lower back in this series by helping with your ankle mobility, your breathing mechanics. You've opened up your hip capsules and strengthened your glute. And now we want to bring it all together by releasing your hip flexors and hamstrings, as well as doing a dynamic move that's going to help you anytime you pick anything up from the ground to make sure that you have a nice, healthy, tall spine versus rounding or dumping this dysfunctional energy into your lower back that can lead to herniations and a lot of stress within those discs. So today, we're actually not going to do anything specifically to move the spine. It's all going to be about the muscles around the back and the pelvis that are exerting a pull that put you at risk for lower back pain and injury. So the first exercise we're going to do is called the couch stretch. And it's called the couch stretch because, well, we sit on couches a lot, and this is the opposite of sitting, where we're in this hip flex position. We're going to get you in a nice hip extended position and stretch the insertion into the knee and into the hip at the same time. So it's a really nice complete stretch. So we're going to set up, and you can use either a wall or a small chair or even a foam roller. The higher your foot is, the more intense and the bigger stretch you're going to get, but you don't want such a big stretch that you have to make compensations in your core. Okay, so I'm using this smaller step here, and when I come out here, I'm focused on can I maintain this position without flaring my ribs or hyperextending my back? Do I feel nice and comfortable, almost as if I was standing up on my own 2 feet here in terms of not having any stressful energy in my back or pelvis? Once I can find that, I'll tilt the pelvis forward. Imagine if I had a belt buckle, it would be facing upward, so my ribs drop down and my back flattens. You can even put your hand on your back to see if you're doing it. If you have this extension or arch here, you want to flatten that and scoop the pelvis forward. So it's simply this little pelvic tilt. I immediately feel a better stretch through here. And then what I'll do is I'll push my hands into my knee, which firms up my core, and I'll just move forward a little bit, and that'll increase the stretch. What I'm not doing is arching my back to get a lot of false stretch, because now I'm just contracting and exerting force on my back. I'm not actually stretching my hip flexors. So again, it's get in a nice soft position, scoop that pelvis. This foot is straight behind. It's not twisted in any way. And I might take a nice deep breath in through the belly and come out. So I feel a nice stretch through that quad and hip. The higher up your foot is, the more hip stretch you'll get. The lower your foot is, the more quad stretch you'll get. So you can play with that. And then we'll back off. Okay, and I always like to kind of start from this position because it unloads it. I'll get nice and tall, find the stretch again, take a deep breath in, and move out again. You want to aim for about maybe 10 breaths here. Okay, again, I'll just release the stress for a moment, get back into that light stretch, in and out. And by the end of this stretch, when you stand up, you won't have this downward pull and pressure from the tightness of sitting coming out of that. So you can actually let your pelvis drop naturally, and it will really soften this lower back and any stress you have in this area. One of the best fixes for something called lower cross syndrome, which we'll talk about another time. Now, another really important exercise to do is a hamstring stretch, okay? Because the hamstring also has a lot to do with that pelvic pull that pulls people in this arched position. So what we're going to do is you can either use a belt buckle, a yoga strap. I'm using this awesome mini band here, which also gives me a little bit of strength within the stretch, which, as you know, I always like. And we're going to put it right at the midfoot line here, and we're going to bring you up into a nice stretch. Make sure that this foot here isn't turned out in a weird way. It stays nice and straight. And you can just drop that head and pull. My lower back is nice and neutral. It's not totally flat like I'm doing a crunch. It's not hyperextended. It's just relaxed as if I was standing naturally. And I'll take a nice tummy breath. and then come down. Remember, if you can't breathe in a stretch, you don't own the stretch. You've got to be able to breathe. Notice also I have a soft bend in my knee. I'm not hyperextending. We never work in an athletic way with a hyperextended knee, or at least we shouldn't, so you never want to stretch that way. So I always have at least a soft bend in the knee. I can choose to have it even softer if I want, and I'll get more of a stretch through the glute hamstring. If I'm a little bit straighter, it's going to be closer to the knee capsule, that popliteal fossa right behind the knee. All right, so it's just coming up, maybe 1 or 2 deep tummy breaths. And then down. It's about a 4 to 8 second hold. You do about 10 of those on each side. After that, you'll bring it all together by doing a very functional athletic stretch, which is going to help you anytime, of course, you deadlift with heavy weights, but also the thousands of times, millions of times that we pick something up from the ground. Okay? So the stance is really important here. I might show you a couple different angles. One foot slightly in front of the other, okay? And the foot in front is the leg that I'm stretching, okay? But it's really a pattern stretch more than a hamstring stretch here. Now, the worst thing you can do for your back when you pick something up is round your spine and turtle. That flexion energy is the wrong kind of energy for your spine, which gives you a big risk of herniations, especially if I load that movement as well. So I want to keep my spine nice and tall, not overarched, just with a little bit of an arch in there, a tall spine. And what I'll do with this split stance is I'll hinge back. I'll feel a nice stretch through this front hamstring here. And then instead of rounding my back, I'll just bend my knees through the stretch, and this will increase in the front leg, the stretch, and I'll touch the ground with my hand flat, really being long and lifted with my chest and spine. And then I'll stand up. Almost all my weight's on my front leg. My back leg's just for balance. I'll hinge back. Once I feel like I need to bend the knee, I will. And touch the ground. And I'll just keep alternating here. Here's my limit. So instead of rounding, I'm just going to bend that front knee, touch the ground with my hand flat. And you can kind of reach further and further behind you as you go, and that's going to increase the stretch. You can also do a little bit of a bigger split. That will also increase the stretch. You'll feel it sooner. Or a smaller split if it's a little too intense. That's totally fine. Okay, show you this angle too. So I have this split here. Okay, I hinge back. Okay, I feel a little stretch through my hamstring now. So I'm going to choose to bend that knee through the stretch, touch that ground, hand behind, tall spine, and then switch. You can do different hand positions, can turn the hand this way, add a little hip rotation with it. It's all good. Okay? And when you're done with this, you'll be able to deadlift much better and safer. But also, like I said, at anything where you're picking things up from the ground and you kind of feel like in the morning when you're tying your shoes or grabbing your backpack or whatever it is, you're going to have a much healthier pattern in that hinge, and over time, it's going to really save your back wear and stress. Okay? So after the series, hips are open, much less pull in the pelvis to feel much softer, and you're going to be much better and healthier in the hip hinge, which is so fundamental to everything we do in athletics and daily movement. So thanks for watching. Work on this for a week or so, and you're almost there to part 6 of the mini mobility series. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.